Welcome back to Still a Part of Us. We are so excited to have Chelsea back on and to talk a little bit more about her experience after the death of the stillbirth of her son, Desmond. And if you don't get a chance to, please, I would encourage you to go listen to her story because it's beautiful. And it's so like also just heartbreaking but really grateful that she was able to tell her story, tell all about his life and get a chance to celebrate him in a way. So welcome back. We're so happy that you're here, Chelsea.
Thank you, Winter. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Can you just to get everybody caught up and can you tell us a little bit about Desmond and what happened to him and when he passed away?
Yeah, so I was 38 weeks when we realized I stopped feeling movement. So we found out on the 4th of July of 2023 he no longer had a heartbeat, and he was delivered on July 5th, and it was due to a true knot that cut off his precious, you know, nutrient supply, his
Yeah.
oxygen, all the things.
All the
So
things. Yeah, and that was I like I said, just encourage you to listen to the rest of the story because it was tough, but I'm grateful that you were willing to reach out and chat with us because it was in 2023 that he passed away, and at the time of this recording, it's only been about 7 months since, you lost him, and I do like to ask that question of just how has even just in that 7 months, how has the grief looked like for you guys as a family? For
yeah.
you and Michael and for your daughter even? What has that looked like, and how's that maybe even changed over just this short amount of time?
Sure. The first little bit, I felt like it was going in and out of numbness, dissociation, almost denial. It just didn't feel real because I was right back what I was doing, just taking care of my daughter.
Yeah.
Obviously, physically, I was going through all of the recovery. As time has gone by, I feel like we've had a lot more dark moments,
Mm,
ways that, and it doesn't help that in Utah the winters were just it's just hard to get out and to do our normal coping mechanisms, and so it's been rough, and we've gone through plenty of roller coasters and plenty of moments of feeling guilt of, wow, we're having a really good stride. Are we
yeah.
forgetting our son? And we're also just deep in the trying to figure our life out and our future plans for more kids, and so we're just in the thick of it, I think.
Yeah. It is, you brought up a couple of things that are interesting to point out. Just you did something where you said, "I'm going through even the post after having a baby," and you went like this, and I'm assuming you were also maybe indicating that your milk came in as well
Yes.
after and
Yes.
and
Oh,
I think people don't realize that that is something that happens. Like, you had a baby, and your body's kicking in doing the thing that it usually does, but it feels like a cruel trick, I think, of just like, "Ah, wait, I don't even have a baby to help me with this."
the most cruel. It was I ended up getting mastitis, and
Oh,
I didn't have it before, so
oh,
I didn't know what to expect, and you just forget to change a pad one time, and the next thing I know, I had a really high fever and some
oh,
awful chills, and it those, antibiotics were life-saving, but man, it felt like it knocked me out for a while, and
yeah.
also, I think it was only, like, a week after, and so it just
Oh,
felt like it brought all the freshness right back to our life in that moment, or maybe it was 2 weeks later.
but still
I
enough
don't
to
know.
be like, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, your milk coming in is tough, and it is, yeah, and on top of that, an infection, like, it just I can't don't wanna imagine that.
yep,
That's
while
not
you're
great.
just trying to struggle for air and you're drowning in grief and,
Yep,
it's not fun.
yep. You mentioned that your coping or like you said, your normal coping mechanisms are kind of off the table in regards to Utah winters. We live in Utah as well, if you don't know that already, but I will agree completely with Chelsea because it is dark and it can be awfully cold, and we have something called inversion, which is like a smog that kind of settles in into the valley and makes it difficult to kind of be outside sometimes, and so that can be tricky. Were there any things that you did find that helped you with some of the coping?
Yeah, like I kind of mentioned before, so staying active and getting outside, and
Mhm.
we love hiking. So we did a big hike like in honor of Desmond at one point.
Oh, wonderful.
If anyone knows Mount Timpanogos, that was a big
Oh,
deal for me. It was my first time. My husband
yeah.
had done it, but we did that actually 2 months after he had passed, so a little over 2 months. And I was
Wow.
proud because
You
I don't know,
just well, you had
yeah,
also just been recently pregnant, and so, I mean, like,
yeah,
there's that to also.
yeah, 2 months postpartum. My body shocked me with how well it did recovering.
Mhm.
And I felt like that was a huge blessing because part of my coping mechanism is getting outside and staying active
Yeah.
or trying to.
Right, right.
So,
That's pretty cool that you did it in honor of him, though. Was it you just you
yeah.
and Michael, or
Yep.
Nice.
We took some painted rocks that we painted, and our daughter Ellie painted one as
Mhm,
well and took them up there. And so, who knows if they're still up there? And there's like a little shack up top. So,
mhm.
we placed it in that shack. So, hopefully, they won't get moved, but
Yeah,
who
but you
knows?
never know quite know. But that's really cool that you did do that. That's great. And then you also mentioned that you are well, let me back up. I do wanna ask, were there any things that were really super helpful kind of right after you guys lost Desmond that people did for you or said to you or helped you with? Is there anything that kind of was you wanna give them a shout out because it's always
Yes.
there's always so many people that are so kind, I feel like, after something like this happens.
Yeah. We felt like we had so much support, and it was so great. So, people offering to babysit Ellie. That was huge because I never would ask someone necessarily,
Yeah.
and so the space that we could get to just cry, not that I wouldn't let my daughter see me cry, but it's just different when your toddler's still relying on you,
Yeah.
um, throughout the day that you're able to actually process. So Michael and I really came to really enjoy that time to try and connect with Desmond and I guess appreciate that time is probably
Yeah.
the better way of saying it. And then we were given meals by so many neighbors. So many people sent us anonymous DoorDash gift
Oh,
cards.
how
We lived
kind.
off of DoorDash, I kid you not, maybe 2 to 3 months.
It's
We were
so, so kind.
yeah, it was so good, and to just not have to cook and be cleaning, it was nice, and one of my friends in the neighborhood, she gathered money from 2 other ladies in the neighborhood, and they hired a cleaning service
Oh, man.
to clean my house. That was incredible
Yeah.
because that was at the point Michael went back to work, and
Yeah.
so that was awesome, and, some people say they don't enjoy seeing flowers. We were given tons of flowers and plants, and it just made our house feel more full
Yeah.
and not so empty.
Yeah.
And we really appreciated all those gifts as well, like just simple bouquets. And now our house is actually full. We have four Desmond plants that we
Oh,
repotted
yeah.
into like more permanent
Yeah.
spots in our house. And so it's felt good to have, some green in our house to fill it, to not make it feel so empty. So
Yeah. And it's just I have a number of plants as well from our son, and it just always reminds me of him, just the kindness of people and also of him. The time that was really hard, but that I've kept those plants alive for, 4 years, 5 years. So, it's pretty fun.
yep.
Um, and Was there anything that anybody said that was especially helpful or that you liked that you appreciated what they said? Any words in particular?
I think I had a hard time trying to figure out, like, I think I was searching for the right validation and words from others, and it's just there's no perfect way of saying things.
Mhm.
There might be a few ways you could probably say it different to not sound negative, but I didn't get a lot of those comments,
Mm.
but not particularly, no.
Okay. Okay, that's good. Um, and then I would love to hear what your thoughts were with how you and Michael grieved. Did you notice a difference, or have you noticed a difference in this kind of shorter time so far?
Yeah, in the first little bit, we were very much on the same page, and then I started to just I kinda get cranky. The poor guy does so great with me, but I get cranky, and he kind of gets quiet, and we had to come to learn that over time,
Mm,
that one another's struggling, and it's taken a lot of practice, a lot of time. I mean, 7 months is relatively short, but
it
it's
is.
felt long, it's felt fast, it's a whole wave of experiences, and so we've come to kind of recognize the signs when we're struggling and when we either need time alone or just space as a couple
Yeah.
grieving Desmond. Um, Michael has picked up a travel bug. I've read that some people really just wanna get away when they're grieving, and so, and normally when I'm not feeling it, I wanna stay home.
Mm,
And, it was kinda tough navigating that because he was ready to book so many flights
yeah. Yeah.
immediately after, and we still have gone on quite a few trips, which has been good, after all. But I think in the first little bit, I was not ready for that, and so navigating that was kinda difficult. Like, he just wanted to escape reality, honestly,
Yeah.
a
Well, I
little
mean,
bit.
and it is a little bit of a you go someplace else and nobody knows that you've lost a baby and that the
Yeah.
heartache is at home and it's a way to kind of have your brain gets a little bit of relief, I think, because there is something really nice about getting away and being not in your house after a
Yep.
loss. So I can totally I can relate to Michael completely.
Yep. I mean, it is a whole other thing too, like, coming home from the vacation, though.
Oh yes,
That's tough.
totally. Yeah, because then you're just like,
Yeah.
oh, we had a nice time, but we're missing somebody from that.
Yeah, our lives are back to, yeah, just the regular old, like, trying to cope again, you
Yep.
know?
Mhm. Yep.
So
So that yeah, that's interesting. I've never heard anybody like, well, and the fact that you're just like, "I wanna be home," and he's like, "Let's go someplace." And
yeah.
that's a little bit of a different way to that I've seen people cope, so,
Yep.
thanks for sharing that. Um, and then, and I know Ellie is super young still, like, she's only just, 2 right now, 2.5, and so has she gained a little bit more of an understanding of her little brother, even though
Yeah.
she never physically met him at the hospital.
Yeah. So she, for a little while, had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
She was having so many different people watch her in those
Mhm.
first few weeks. And I think it took a toll on her that way because she
Mm.
could recognize something's
Something
different,
yeah.
something's not right. And I remember thinking that, like, oh, this poor girl, she's seeing us cry all the time, mostly me. And then it kind of turned into something that we could teach her, like, it's okay to cry. And since then, she recognizes when mom is sad or when dad is sad. And I kind of think of it as like she's just learning to be emotionally intelligent.
Yeah.
And so, but there are times where I don't necessarily know she understands, but there are times where we say, we're going to go visit baby brother. And she says, no. And I don't know if maybe that's her way of, like, not wanting to face emotions as a family, or things like that. It's still a bit of a mystery to me with
Yeah.
a just under 3-year-old, so
Yes, yeah, and that it's just a tricky time too, so,
yeah.
um, yeah, that's it. I guess maybe do you have any advice, um, to maybe other parents that have another child that they are still raising and after a loss? Do you have any thoughts to share or anything in particular that you would give as advice?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say it's okay to let our kids see our emotions. That's me personally. I think there might be some people out there who would think, try and stay strong for your child, but I think it's good to let our kiddos see like we have emotions too, and it's okay to have emotions. And there was one other thing that I was going to mention. Oh, I read somewhere. I was very aware of this early on of we didn't know how to tell her
Yes,
that
yeah,
he had died. And so we were very careful about how we went about it so that we didn't make her fear death necessarily or being
yes,
sick. So we've dissociated the word sick from Desmond. We just have said his body didn't work, so he died. And I think she's grasped onto it. I think she
mm,
understands he's not here, but he was there, for a time. That makes
yes,
sense. And
yeah.
because she'll see like we found a little dead bug in our closet, and she said, "Oh, the bug is dead. His body didn't work." I'm
His
like, "Yeah,
body yeah, that is true.
yeah."
Yeah.
So that was some really good advice that I read somewhere early on that because it's tough trying to navigate that with a
Mhm.
toddler, and so just putting it plainly, their body didn't work, and I think that's helped her grasp it.
Okay, that's good. I like that. That's actually a good way. Yeah, because you that is one thing that my daughter would always think that, oh, I'm sick and I'm going, like I'm going to die. I mean, it's like from one jumping from one extreme to the other. You're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. We're not
Like,
it's
"Hold on."
yeah, it's gonna be fine. We're gonna be fine. So
Yeah.
your body is amazing. And yeah, so just funny how you have to deal with it can
Mhm.
be a pretty touchy topic.
Yep.
And so with your family and both sides of the family, have you seen I don't know, I'm always like so curious to see what people's like mothers and fathers do to support you because 'cause they're seeing their child especially go through something so, so difficult and something they hopefully have not gone through themselves, but to watch them go through this. Have you seen your parents or Michael's parents support you guys in any special ways that was helpful?
Yeah, something my mom has been really good at is she obviously, they're all great listeners. But when she hears that I might just be having a day, she doesn't ask to do this, but she says, "I'm coming over," because she knows I would never ask her and
Y
inconvenience her,
yeah.
or I try not to because she's got a busy life of her own. She's still working part-time as well. So she just says, "Well, I'm coming over. What can I bring you? I'm gonna hit the store before. I'll grab a couple of and it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, and then I can just like take a deep breath and know that she can be there with me or entertain my daughter for a little bit. And I don't have to ask her those things. I'm coming over. It's
Yeah.
like, thank you, mom.
Yes. There is something, uh, that is so lovely about that type of, like, service or action is that you just assume that they're gonna need something. You don't need to ask them what they need, just assume that they're gonna need something and just show up with it. Like, I don't know if that makes any
Yeah.
sense. Just being of service and don't not putting the responsibility on the person that's grieving to figure something out. Like, that makes sense? It
Yes.
feels like it's a lot
Totally.
when your brain is not working afterward just to like, I don't know what I need. I know I need something, but I
Yes.
don't know what it is. And so for your mom
Yep.
just to be like, I'm picking up a couple of drinks and and a movie
Yes.
maybe, and I'm coming over." And I that is very kind, and it says a lot about your relationship with your mom, like, yeah, you can
Yeah,
tell that
it's
she's
a
supportive.
blessing she lives so close and
Yeah,
yep.
and you have a good relationship with her, I think that's awesome.
Yep.
And I am one of the things that I like to ask about is what are some things that you guys like to do to remember Desmond, whether it's like a physical something or another, or um, I know that you guys have him buried 5 minutes away from your home. So what are some things that you guys try and do to incorporate Desmond in your life, or to remember him, or to celebrate him?
Yeah, I have a special necklace for him that I wear every day, and my husband actually found a company that they can put his actual footprints, so we took a photo of the
Uh
prints,
huh.
and they engraved it on a little gold piece of metal, and it's on a leather bracelet for him, and he
Oh,
wears that as much as he
nice.
can. And so those are like our physical everyday
Mm-hmm.
things. I also sleep with his blanket that we were
Yes.
gonna have in his nursery. And yeah, those are like the physical ways. I think we're still trying to figure out how
Yeah.
to honor him each day in like a more spiritual way and to feel connected to him, especially with Ellie. We're still trying to navigate it. It's
Yeah.
kind of tough.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
Yep.
and you're just trying to get your feet under you too sometimes when it's so early on. So, um,
Yep.
and there, I'll just warn you right now, there's going to be like this a lot of pressure for his first birthday, and it's going to
I
feel
know.
so overwhelming. And just remember to give yourself a little bit of grace and give yourself a break because he's probably just happy that you guys are remembering him.
Yeah, yeah, we've heard that from support groups that we've gone to that people have gone above and beyond, but then we've also seen the other spectrum of that, of,
Yeah,
like, people that go, I just am gonna do what we wanna do as, like, a couple that day."
yeah,
Like, yeah, so maybe we'll decide when that gets
yeah,
closer and
yeah. With a little bit more perspective and time under your belt. I really have appreciated this conversation. I want to make sure that I've covered everything that you want to say about Desmond, and or anything that you would want to say to anybody that's supporting a person that has lost a baby. Is there any things that you're just like, these are some outstanding things you should try doing?
I think one thing my husband and I we're gonna say going down to our graves is like being seen and being acknowledged is it is meaningful, way more meaningful. Like the silence hurts more. So
Mm,
if someone has a fear of like what to say, it's almost like that silence hurts more than if they were to say something that might not come out right.
yeah.
Yeah, like we would much rather hear someone with good intentions, maybe they misstepped in the delivery, right? But
Hmm.
we'd much rather hear the acknowledgement
Yeah.
because it's acknowledging our son
Yeah.
and it's acknowledging that he's real, that he existed, that he is our son. Because I think the tiptoeing around, not wanting to step on toes, it it just makes us feel like, he is distanced from us, our Desmond, and so, yeah, if you're afraid of what to say, just say, "I see you. I don't know what you're going through, but I am here," and then offer something specific if you can.
Yeah. Yay. I
Yeah.
cannot say agreed to that. I concur wholeheartedly with that because people do want to be seen, and people have good intentions. I also have noticed that even if they do say something that you're like, "Ooh," they do have good intentions.
Yeah.
Um, because they really just they want to smooth things out. They want to make things better. And sometimes it's not the nicest or best thing that anybody wants to hear, but there's a there's something behind that that is
Yeah.
kind, and so And then showing up with something that is helpful is awesome.
Yeah.
That's like a
Yes,
bonus right there.
totally.
It's like, so great.
Yep,
Like you said, your
totally.
neighbors and everybody that came out of the woodworks to feed you and take care of you and, make sure that you had essentially your basic needs taken care of is so kind, so,
Yep.
um Chelsea, thank you so much again for spending this afternoon with me and talking about Desmond and for sharing your wisdom and sharing your experience because it is going to help somebody. It's going to it helps me talking to you about your little son because it reminded me of my son and that
Mhm.
made me feel closer to him. So thank you so much for taking the time and sharing a little bit about yourself today.
Thanks, Victor.